So are marathoners and extreme runners more likely to get colon cancer? That's actually what a study showed recently. There's a few things that experts think might be contributing to this increase of colon cancer risk in ultramarathoners and whatnot, but I also have some thoughts. Let's talk about it, okay? So there was a small study that was just published earlier this year. They recruited 100 marathon and ultra marathon runners aged 35 to 50 to undergo a colonoscopy. And the results were really crazy. Almost half the participants already had polyps and 15% had advanced adenomas, which are likely to become cancerous. That's pretty crazy, being that it's double the general population. In particular, like you think ultra marathoners or like these extreme runners are super healthy. So like, why are they more likely now to potentially get colon cancer? So some of the reasons that they float, at least from this article, have to do with runners not being in touch with their body and being so good at pushing through discomfort and pain. They might be missing a lot of the gastrointestinal issues that would cause someone else to potentially go to the doctor, right? Another potential reason is that because of the excessive amounts of running, blood flow to the colon is temporarily reduced as a majority of the blood flow is redirected to muscles in other parts of the body. But normally this would improve on its own, and so doctors aren't really sure if that's the cause. However, I have some other thoughts. There's a few things that immediately came to mind. I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but number one, bottled water. Okay. Yeah. So if you're an ultra marathoner, you're going to be out there with little bottles of water, either on the actual like course as they're handing those to you and you're drinking them, or even worse, maybe you have one of those Camelback or one of those running belt water bottles. Those are straight up PVC. PVC is probably the worst type of plastic you can get, even though they're all bad, but it has very high levels of phthalates and tons of microplastics. Especially the hotter it gets, the more microplastics and chemicals from that plastic are going to leach out into that water. Another thought that I had is all of like the marathon like goo and like energy gels comes in like these little squeezy packets. It looks like a ketchup packet, except you squeeze out this gel and that gives you a little bit of like protein and a little bit of energy, right? Sometimes they have caffeine and B vitamins and things. Yeah, that's not good. That's super ultra processed. Eventually someone's going to test those. What they will find is high amounts of phthalates. They're also going to find tons of microplastics. And again, all those microplastics cause colon cancer, okay? I don't think there's any one sole cause. I think there's probably a lot of things that all contribute to it. Another thing I thought about was potentially the amount of inhaled microplastics that a runner would have. So typically when someone's outside, there's going to be a lot less microplastics than when someone's inside, right? However, I think a lot of that depends on where an ultra marathoner might be practicing. So there's actually studies where they found trail running events and ultra marathoning events, which are on trails a lot of the time, that can actually create tons of microplastics and environmental pollution because of the abrasion from shoes and clothing into that area. However, if someone is running on asphalt or on paved roads, that is far worse because one of the biggest sources of microplastics in the world is the wear off of tires. And rubber microplastics that come off of tires, it contributes to particulate matter. You get a lot of that outside when you're running on asphalt. If you're doing that heavily for hours at a time, I mean, that's a lot of particulate matter that you would be inhaling and breathing in, and it's been linked to colon cancer. So that would be another contributing factor. It's pretty crazy how many studies are out there linking the inhalation of fine particulate matter as a risk factor for colon cancer. What do you think? It's kind of crazy, right? Tell me your thoughts in the comments on what you think might be contributing to the higher amounts of colon cancer in these runners. All that being said, you shouldn't stop running, but definitely be aware of your body. Don't just run through the pain. Like, go to a doctor, check it out, and definitely eat really fresh, unprocessed foods.